Good afternoon, everyone. So, here we have come up with a first unit, part 2 of risk management. We'll deal with the risk mitigation and responses. Responses, how it can be. You can enhance, exploit, reject, or share a risk. Enhance if it is of low, means it won't cause a lot of harm to you. You can definitely enhance it and take that risk. Exploit that risk. You can exploit that risk. You can reject that risk. Rejection is just, I don't want to do anything, I just want to face it, let us see what happens. And share it. You can share it with someone else, like you can go for insurance or something. Now, what are the responses? You can avoid it. Avoid means, okay, if the risk is not that big, it won't cause you a lot of harm, you can avoid it. You can accept it. If you are sure that this risk is there and you cannot do anything about it, then accept it. Contingency, you can go for any contingent factors, like maybe it will happen or not happen, so let me not waste my time on this. Then you can reduce risk responses by sharing it with someone, maybe insurance or anything else, or you can transfer your risk to someone else, for example in what we do with derivatives or swap deals. So these are the risk mitigation and responses. You can enhance, exploit, reject, or share. You can avoid, accept, contingency, reduce, or transfer your risk. So I hope this slide is clear. Now, what are the principles of risk management? I have taken this slide from New York University, ERM, Enterprise Resource Risk Management. What are the principles of risk management? Risk management creates and protects value, because if when you manage your risk, then you are actually creating some, and also you are protecting the value you have already created. Risk management is an integral part of all organizational process. There is no process where there is no risk. Risk management is part of decision making. Risk management takes human and cultural factors into account. Risk management is systematic, structured, and timely. So always your approach towards risk management has to be very systematic, it has to be very structured, it has to be in a proper structure, and it has to be timely. If you delay in making risk management, in taking risk management measures, then you may be suffering losses. Risk management is based on best available information. So you don't have all the information always, you have best available information. So whenever you're going for any risk management, try to make your decision on the best available information on the basis of facts. And risk management is transparent and inclusive. It is also transparent and inclusive. It includes all, it is pervasive in all the firms, at all the levels of the organization. It includes all the levels of the organization. The risk management facilities facilitates continual improvement of the organization. So it is also part of total quality management, where you are going for continual improvement of the organizational process through risk management. So these are the principles of risk management. There are 8 principles: that it creates and protects value, is an integral part of organizational process, is part of decision making, takes human and cultural factors into account, is systematic, structured, and timely, based on best available information, it is transparent and inclusive, and it facilitates continual improvement of the organization. Now let us go for risk management process. This diagram explains risk management process in a very easy manner, that you establish the context first. First of all, understand what are your internal and external factors, and what is your risk appetite. What is the risk appetite of the organization? To what level you can take the risk. Then identify the risk. Identification. So how you identify the risk? You may go for survey or interview. And analysis of risk, likelihood and impact of existing controls. So here you can go for survey and interview. In identifying risk, you can go for workshops and evaluate the risk. So you prioritize the risk on the basis of harm it can cause. So prioritization of the risk, evaluation of the risk. then again treat the risk the way it has to be, whether you want to avoid the risk, you want to accept the risk, you want to reduce the risk, or you want to transfer the risk. It depends on the intensity of the loss which will be caused by that risk. And in all the levels, in all the steps, from establishing context to treating the risk, monitor and review the process. That is very, very important. And communicate and consult. So monitor and review, and communicate and consult. So you monitor and review, and again you start from the beginning. So this is the risk management process we have. Now let us go for risk management plan. Risk management plan, or plan risk management, is a document that a project manager prepares to foresee risks, estimate impacts, and define responses to risks. So it is a document which is prepared to foresee risk. You identify the risk beforehand, estimate impacts, what will be the impact of the risk, and define response of the risk. So what will be the response, whether you want to avoid it, you want to take it, or you want to transfer it, what kind of response you want to have. It also contains risk assessment matrix. What kind of risk you are taking, the risk assessment matrix. What is risk assessment matrix? If we look into things, you can draw a matrix of the frequency or the likely happening of that event which is risk prone, and the loss caused by if that event happens. So the urgent and the event which can happen more frequently are to be treated first. There are 6 components of good risk management plan. First of all, define what is risk, what is your risk appetite, what kind of risk you consider as risk. Assumptions, what are the assumptions you are taking. Risk breakdown structure, always break down the risk you have. Then probability impact factor, what is the probability of happening of that risk, and what will be the impact if in case that risk happens. So you multiply the probability with the impact, and higher the value comes, that is the risk which has to be given more weightage. Then accuracy estimates of cost and schedule. So you identify what is the cost and what is the schedule, and hence you estimate what will be the cost and what will be the schedule. And then you make risk register, where you name the risk, description of the risk, probability of its happening, impact the risk would cost, the risk priority, and what are your response plans. So these are the things which are to be included in your risk register. So this is the risk plan. There are 6 components of risk management plan. So go through this. Now, what are the limitations to risk management? Now, limitations involve of the board of directors and high level management. The biggest problem with high-level management is you won't get enough cooperation, low qualification, lack of independence to make decision, and not transparent. So these are the limitations. And formulate risk management policy and procedures. At this level, you will find our policies and procedures not match with risks. Development to infrastructure, rigid to implement, and communication failure. Then establish a unit to operate risk management, lack of adequate structure, the staff has less experience, lack of independence. Set up risk management system, no follow-up and control system, not enough risk assessment management instruments, and database and IT system. These are some of the things which you will face when you are setting up risk management system. So these are the limitations which you will face at various levels or various steps of risk management. What are the approaches to risk management? First one is risk avoidance. You can avoid your risk. You can avoid the risk by taking some measures. For example, you're going by car, then definitely you may choose not to go by car, and you can choose to go by train. So you're avoiding the risk now. Now, loss control. You can control the loss. Now, how it is, like you can put on, if you're going by bike, then you can take some helmets. You can put on helmet, and then you will control your loss. The loss will be caused, but that will not be to the extent that was anticipated. Then combination, you can take combination of risk, all these measures. Separation of risk, you can separate risks into various sub risks, and then you can choose what kind of sub risk you are ready to take and what kind of sub risk risk. You're not ready to take risk transfer. You can transfer your risk to someone else, like it happens in insurance. Then risk retention, you can retain the risk in case that risk, the probability of happening that risk is less, and the also the loss caused by it is minimal. Then risk sharing, you can share the risk by making some partnership or some agreements or something like that. So these are the approaches to risk management. So there are 7 approaches to risk management. That is risk avoidance, loss control, combination means mergers and acquisitions, separation, risk transfer, risk retention, risk sharing. What are the components of risk management? Risk management consists of 2 major components, that is risk control and then risk assessment. So first of all, when it comes to risk assessment, you measure the risk measurement, and then you value your assets. So risk measurement and asset valuation are the subcomponents of risk assessment, which is a component of risk management. And then comes risk control, where you're hedging. Hedging means you're entering into a counter contract, and you're trying to stabilize your position by entering into a contract with someone else. And portfolio optimization, you optimize your portfolio. You optimize the portfolio by diversifying it, by making it less or more risk averse, and making it less risky, and also optimizing by maintaining the balance between risk and return. So these are the 4 subcomponents: hedging, portfolio optimization, risk measurement, and asset valuation. And 2 components of risk management are risk control and risk assessment. Now, risk management techniques. Now, if you look into this matrix, you would find out we can draw the risk with x-axis we're having frequency of the happening of the event, and y-axis with severity of the event. And with the low severity and low frequency, you can retain the risk with low frequency and low severity. When you go on low frequency but high severity, you can go for insurance. And high frequency and low severity, you can go for prevention and reduction. And high frequency and high severity, this is the biggest thing which we have to take care of. You can avoid it by combining prevention, reduction, and insurance techniques. So that is how you have to take care of. This is a very important matrix. You have to remember this matrix on what will be your risk management technique on the basis of the severity and frequency of the happening of the risky event. So here we come to end of the first unit. I hope you all enjoyed the session. It was an easy one. Thank you. Thanks a lot.